When you're doing any kind of mixing, you want to make sure that what you're hearing is accurate. For example, if you're mixing in a room where certain sound frequencies are being absorbed in the walls or carpeting, you'll tend to raise those frequencies in your mix. Now, when you take your mix to another location, let's say your car, it's going to sound horrible. That's why the best studios spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the design of their studios. Even if you're mixing in your bedroom, there are things you can do to soundproof your room and to treat it acoustically. That's well outside the scope for this course, unfortunately. However, one thing I do want to talk about is gain stages. A gain stage is any part of the signal flow where the level of sound can be changed. When you're working with Pro Tools, there are many gain stages. Let's use the example of recording an electric guitar. You plug your guitar into an amplifier. Now you can set the volume level on your guitar, and you can change the volume level on your amplifier. Now let's place a microphone in front of the amplifier that goes into a preamp. You can set the level of the signal in your preamp. And that, of course, goes into Pro Tools. Depending on your audio interface, you may be able to boost or lower the gain of your signal from the hardware window within Pro Tools. Now you're in Pro Tools and you can raise or lower the volume of your guitar track, but you can do more. You can add effects to that guitar track and you can change the gain on those effects to affect the volume level. And you can output the results of that guitar track to other tracks, including an overall master track, and you can set the gain for that track. But you're not done yet. When you get out of Pro Tools, the audio goes back to your audio interface, so it can be output to speakers. And oftentimes, not only do you have a control on your audio interface, you may even have volume controls on your speakers. So as you can see, there are so many different steps along the way where we can boost or lower the audio signal. You need to be aware of this when you're recording and mixing. Now, when you're recording, you want to make sure that you have a strong enough signal without distortion. If your signal is recorded too weak, you'll need to boost it to hear it in the mix, and that may add a lot of noise. If your signal is too strong, it distorts, which is a nasty sound, unless you're trying to add distortion, let's say with a guitar, and you like that sound. Now, Pro Tools will warn you when your signal is too hot, which means it's distorting. It's being clipped. Those are all terms which means basically it's too loud. Let's take a quick look. Here is a waveform, and you can see very clearly here how the wave is chopped off. It's lined up here like a rectangle. And sure enough, when I play it back, if you look at my meter, you will see Pro Tools lights up this red light, which tells you that this is too loud. I can lower the volume at this point, but the signal was recorded clipped. The signal was recorded too loud, so I'll never get this to sound as good as if I had recorded it correctly. By the way, to clear that red light, I can just click on it, it goes away. Now here's a guitar, the same guitar that was recorded a little better. No distortion. But when I add an effect, for example, this is an EQ, which increases the gain of a certain frequency. In this case, I'm increasing frequency a lot just to show you what happens. Now watch what happens when I play this back. Well, you can hear it a little bit, but you can also see there's a red light here, and the plugin itself turns red, which means it's distorting. So I know we haven't covered plugins yet, but just so you keep in mind, whenever a plugin turns red, or whenever you see this red light in a mixer channel, that means that something is too hot, too loud, and you need to make sure that you don't see those red lights. This is most important when you're recording, because once something is recorded, you can't then take the distortion out of it. If it's recorded distorted, all you can do is try and minimize the distortion. So make sure when you're setting levels for recording, you don't see any red lights.